This is a different start to this video. This is the 13th of April, Saturday the 13th of April to be exact, and just over a week since I finished the West Highland Way. Now on Saturday the 5th I woke up to very similar conditions to what we have today, only with much colder temperatures. Today it's pouring down with rain outside and the wind is gusting up to 20-30 miles an hour. Now on Friday the 5th I awoke having spent a night in heavy downpour rain. The tent was flexing in for most of the morning. There was some people leaving up, drying their tents off after waking up in the middle of puddles. It had been horrendous weather through the night and a decision was needing to be made. Now, the snow level on where I arrived down into Kinlochleven on the Thursday was pretty high up the hill. It wasn't anywhere near where we would have been walking. Having spoken to people who walked over the pass that day, they said it was absolutely freezing first thing in the morning. The wind was straight in your face. It was difficult to stand up at times. Now, I had to make a decision before I left the campsite whether it was safe for me to do so and whether it was going to be enjoyable for me to do so. And there's a few factors you need to factor in when you're doing the trail as to whether you want to continue or not. Am I disappointed that I didn't finish the trail? Of course I'm disappointed I didn't finish the trail. As somebody who vlogs these trails, it's always good to finish on a high note, but hopefully from watching this last wee bit of video, you'll see that there are some positives to take out of the experience and things that you can learn from too. So first thing I had to do was look at the conditions around me at the time. The wind was blowing in pretty heavy. Even down at sea level. I knew it was going to be worse further up. The temperatures were down to -2. Even walking from the toilet block back to my tent, my hands were freezing. Now, it's a 15-mile walk from Kinlochleven uphill and then down along the glens, down past Ben Nevis and down into Fort William. That was going to take a good while to get round there. Now, I walk roughly about 3 miles per hour. So I was going to have 5 hours up in the hills in what was, at the time, the Met Office had predicted was going to be driving rain, between 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts up in the mountains, with wind strengthening throughout the day. So I had to take that into consideration. I'd also had a good friend of mine who, if you've watched the day one, my friend Stuart had sent me a message. Dunblane was under 3 inches of snow and he was phoning to say, "Are you okay? Do you need me to come and pick you up?" My mum was even offering to put me up in a hotel, so they'd heard reports that up north the weather was going to be getting really bad. Now, as it was, by the time I got on the bus, you'll see the weather had kind of calmed itself down. Now, the weather forecast isn't always bang on, isn't always accurate, and in hindsight, yes, I probably could have gone up and I could have finished the trail. However, hindsight doesn't inform what you're going to do at the time that you need to be leaving, which was for me 8 o'clock in the morning to be down at the campsite for a reasonable time. So I decided I was going to make a choice early. Is it disappointing for the viewers? Yeah, I get that it is. Was it the right choice for me? Yes. What I didn't want to happen was that I make a choice to go for it. I did have the gear to go up into the hills and to cold conditions, but had something happened and had things gone wrong, I wasn't just putting myself at risk, I would be putting the mountain rescue services in the local area at risk on a decision that I could easily make for myself. So, could I have continued? Yes. Do I regret the choice that I made on the day? No, not one little bit. As you'll have seen if you've watched the videos, there are multiple ways you can do the West Highland Way. You can do it in sections. That chap that we saw going across Rannoch Moor that I spoke about, who'd become ill on the West Highland Way, had to go back and do it in sections. There were people using baggage transfers. People do it in all sorts of ways, and by the time you finish, nobody's going to ask you, how did you do the West Highland Way? They'll just be impressed that you did it at all. So this is the final footage from day 7. Apologies if it's a little disappointing, but hopefully we'll take a positive out of this, that if you feel done, if you feel unsafe, if you feel you're going to put other people or yourself at risk, it's okay to stop. It's fine. The West Highland Way will still be there tomorrow. It will still be there next weekend. You can come back and do it another time. Who needs that excuse? Eh? So enjoy this last little bit of footage, and yeah, to be continued. So this was supposed to be day 7 of the West Highland Way. The weather forecast has definitely changed. We've had 6 really good days, but as you'll see from behind me here, the snow has come down a fair bit. The temperature today up in the mountains is to feel like -2, with wind conditions strengthening throughout the day, and the rain is driving in already. Now that's a recipe for exposure. So having completed it twice, I am at this point going to bail out, sadly. It's disappointing for me, but you know, I've got to take the positives out of the trip. We've had 6 days of really good weather, but I'm not willing to put myself at risk by heading into the mountains where there is nowhere to get sheltered, and I certainly don't want mountain rescue being part of this trip. So I'm going to get packed up and get down, catch the bus round to Fort William and find somewhere to sit for the day. I'm convinced that I've made the right choice today. So for those of you who know, I'm from Falkirk. My football team won the Cinch 1 League last weekend against Montrose, and I missed that game, and they are at home tomorrow. So, you know, whilst I'm disappointed to be heading, well, possibly home today if I can get the train, what it will mean is I get to see Falkirk league winners at the home ground tomorrow at the football. So yeah, I'm going to head and get the bus and see if I can get my train ticket changed, and hopefully be at home in my own bed by probably about 6 or 7 o'clock. Well, that's me. I have just cancelled my ticket for tomorrow for the train back, and rescheduled for just before 6 o'clock tonight. So I'll be on the train back to Larbert. We're just currently opposite the tail race inn in Kinlochleven, waiting for the 11:30 bus. Now the rain has gone off. Am I regretting my decision not to just go for it today? No. This morning the conditions were not looking great. It's still freezing in Kinlochleven right now, and I'm down at sea level. You do have to climb up out of Kinlochleven before you get going, and I can see even from here that the snow is down to the level of the pass that you'll be going down. I've made the right call, I think. But anyway, I am going to finish today here. I know this has been a short one, but hopefully you'll see that from my experience, it's never the wrong call when you don't feel like it's going to be good for you. And as I said before, you don't want to get mountain rescue involved in your trip. So if at any point you feel like you need to bail out, that's me just spoken to Jolan Klaas, who is a Belgian teacher who I met 2 years ago, who's out in the Arran Coastal Trail, and they're bailing off of that today as well, because again the weather has flattened some tents and just made it a miserable time. So I'm going to catch up with him in the next few days, because he has a few days spare now that he's had to finish that early. But yeah, stay safe out there folks, and go and create your own adventures, and we'll see you on the next one.